Okay, so we're going to import some media to begin with into this project. So if you go to Activity 421 and there's an Illustrator file there called Creativity, we're going to choose Composition, Retain Layer Sizes, and Create Composition and Open. So if I double click on that composition, you'll see that it is 3 layers, starting with the A Celebration of Creativity text at the bottom, followed by a red heart, and then the green part of the logo. Okay, so this is just a logo for an exhibition that I designed quite some time ago. So we're just going to work with this. So that's the first part. Then the next thing we're going to import is inside that folder called Creativity is an image sequence of JPG. So I'm just going to choose the first image and make sure that it says imported JPEG sequence, uncheck create composition. So if I bring this and I drop it on the top above the other layers there, you will see that if I play it, you'll see that it is an animation done in a 3D application of reflections and lighting on the same logo, and the logo is kind of rendered more 3D and glassy. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to do some masking. So as you will have learned from the active learning, masking is the process of drawing shapes onto layers to mask certain parts of the layer. So if I take this top layer here and I take, say, my rectangle tool here and I draw a rectangle, you can see I'm actually masking that layer. And all of these shapes work the same way, providing they are closed shapes. So if I undo that and I use my pen tool instead, and I just click around, as soon as I close the shape, it becomes a mask. So now the pen tool is the tool that you would use for shapes that are not traditional primitive shapes like rectangles, ellipses, polygons, and stars. So you need to become quite proficient with the pen tool, and this video is not going to teach you how to use the pen tool. So do the active learning. You might have even encountered the pen tool already in Illustrator or Photoshop if you have covered any material from those applications. But if you do not know how to use the pen tool, you need to practice. It takes a bit of practice, it's not easy, but basically once you know the pen tool, you can create any shape mask you want. And then before I start actually doing the mask, I just want to emphasize the fact that if no layer is selected, and you use any of these shape creation tools, whether it's the primitive shapes or whether it's the pen tool, without any layers selected, you're going to make a shape layer. And so a shape layer is a whole other thing. We are going to be dealing with shape layers in a completely separate learning unit. So this is probably one of the most common mistakes people make when they want to mask things, is they don't have the layer selected and then they make a shape layer. So I'm just going to undo that. So what we're going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to hide all my other layers so that they're not going to confuse me, and I'm going to start with this kind of glass heart. I'm also going to rename that layer to glass heart. Just makes more sense. And I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to go into this, making sure that layer is selected, into this area and hit my tilde key on my keyboard. That's the one that looks like a little wave. On the Mac it will be to the right of the Shift key on the left hand side of the screen, and I think on Windows it's just below the Escape key. So that takes me full screen, and now I can start using my pen tool to draw around this shape and to mask it. I'm also going to zoom in a little bit with my scroll wheel and then hold down my space bar to move around. So I'm going to start here and try and be as accurate as I can without taking too much time. Okay, and then when we get to here, we need to hold down Alt to change direction to create a corner. Again, Alt to create a corner. And then here, again, Alt, change direction. Spacebar. Okay, I'll have to go back and change this a little bit, it's a bit dodgy. And then I'm going to go back here and hold down Alt and just set these. Okay, so now I need to just go and fix a few things here. So if I go back to my selection tool, I can now come in here and select these control handles and just adjust things slightly. Okay, so obviously with something like this, the more time you take, the better the results. So I haven't got too much time on my hands with this video, so I'm doing the best job I can. Alright, so now that we have that done, I'm just going to go and choose Fit and tilde key to go back to normal. So now I've masked that out, I can put on the other layers, and you can see that the other layers are behind there. So I don't want to use this green apple and heart because I just want to use this text, a celebration of creativity. And I'm going to drag it above the glass heart, press S for scale, scale it up, R for rotation, rotate it a bit like that, P for position, and change the Y position so that it goes straight through that center little red heart. Okay, now the glass heart has got quite sharp edges, so I'm going to go in there to the mask settings and to mask 1, and I'm just going to change the feather value so that it's just a bit softer around the edges. We're looking at about 15 pixels. And then for the mask expansion, I'm just going to bring that in a little bit so that I'm not seeing any of the white. You don't want to see any of the white. Okay, so it's a slightly softer result. I think 15 is maybe a bit too much. Let me go down to 5. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want this a celebration of creativity to actually be on top of the glass heart, the big glass heart, but behind the smaller glass heart. So I'm going to duplicate that glass heart layer. So Command or Control D, move the glass heart 2 above a celebration of creativity, and I'm going to remove the mask from it. So I'm just going to press M, that will show me my masks, and click on mask 1 and delete. So now I'm back to the way it was, but it's a different layer on top, and now I'm going to mask the smaller heart. So let me zoom in and take my pen and let's go around. I missed that one. Okay, and then Alt, change direction, and then back here. Alt is always what you use to create sharper corners. Okay, so this is a pretty bad selection. Let's just clean it up a bit. Okay, so that's good enough for this demo. So now you can see, I just fit this back in, that we've got the glass heart at the top. That's that one above the text, and then we've got the text, and then we've got the glass heart at the bottom. So the last thing I want to do is with the text layer, I want to add a drop shadow. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to Layer Styles, Drop Shadow, and here under Layer Styles. So these layer styles here are exactly the same as Photoshop's layer styles. We will deal with them in a later lesson. I'm going to go into the settings for drop shadow, and I just want to change the distance value to 17. Okay, so that's a demonstration of how you can use masks to create an interesting result. And then of course when this gets animated, you would have something like this text being able to animate in behind that glass heart, and it kind of gives an interesting result.
I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.